Hello everybody, welcome back. I am going to do a tag video today. I saw at the beginning of the year Allie Glines, who is a YouTuber here, she's got like 700,000 followers. She started a 21 questions makeup tag, and it sort of explores kind of your past behaviors with makeup, what you want to see in the future for makeup. I've seen a lot of people that I watch on YouTube do this, and I thought it would be a fun idea, so I wanted to do it. Also, I just bought a new microphone for my camera, so this is kind of a good way to test out the mic and see if it's working properly. I just kind of did some tests in my apartment with the sensitivity levels, and hopefully it's good. If you feel like it sounds good, let me know. If you feel like it sounds like crap, also let me know, because I can adjust the sensitivity and all that stuff. Or if it's really shitty, I can just send it back. So I've got the questions on my phone, and I'm going to go through them. I have some products in front of me that I can show off, and maybe I'll drop some pictures in for some other stuff. But without further ado, let's get started. So the first question is, what is the oldest makeup product in your collection? And I actually had to think about this for a second, but then it came crashing back to me that my oldest product is actually this Revlon lipstick. This is in the shade Love That Red, which is a kind of beautiful, almost orangey red color. I bought this in 2010. I bought this in October of 2010, and I will drop a picture in if I can find it in a second. For marching band, I was in marching band for high school and for 3 or 4 years of college. For the Halloween marching band practice, we dress up for Halloween, and we have kind of a costume contest where we do our whole practice in a Halloween costume. And that year I decided that I wanted to go as Lady Gaga. So I was inspired by her Saturday Night Live performance and her Bad Romance music video, where she wore this orbital costume, which is like all these silver rings around her on this harness that kind of like sway and go up and down. So I built a very shoddy version of that. And this was before I was ever into makeup at all. And I bought this lipstick because I thought, Lady Gaga red lipstick, it seemed kind of synonymous to me. And I also bought like I think it was like a loose eyeshadow pigment, something like a sparkly pigment. And I have a distinct memory of going to class. I think I had an exam in one of my classes that day, because marching band practice was after all the classes were over with. And part of my costume was fishnet tights. So I wore fishnets under my jeans on the way throughout my entire day. Going to this exam, I took an exam in fishnet stockings with jeans over them. And then I had this lipstick and the eyeshadow. I threw away the eyeshadow, but a long time ago. But whenever I drove to practice, I pulled the cosmetics out of the center console of my car to throw on the lipstick really quick. I had no idea how to do makeup application at the time. This was way before I was into makeup. And I remember pulling the eyeshadow out and unscrewing the top off of it, and it spilled down the console, the dashboard of my car, and there was eyeshadow glitter particles on my dashboard probably forever. I don't have that car anymore. I'm 2 cars removed from that thanks to accidents and stuff like that. But at the time, that eyeshadow, the glitter of it just kind of stuck on the dashboard forever. So that was my oldest product, along with this lipstick. And I haven't gotten rid of this lipstick. I still really like it. It's probably not something I should be using anymore. But if I show you a swatch of it, it still swatches effortlessly. I also used this pretty recently, probably about maybe 8 or 9 months ago. I used this as a lip and an eye color, and if I can find a picture of that, I was doing a whole face mask makeup series on my Instagram, and I actually used this as an eyeshadow shade while I had a red mask on because they matched. I'll try to find a picture, but I used this on my eyes less than a year ago, and I used it on my lips probably within the past 3 or 4 months, and my eyes have not fallen off and my lips have not fallen off, even though this is 10 plus years old. I should probably get rid of it. I was actually on Revlon's website and I saw that they still sell this. I don't think I've seen it in a Target or anything lately, but they still have this shade on their website. So if this kind of drugstore, slightly orangey red seems up your alley, then maybe go pick it up. Question number 2 is, what is your most recent makeup purchase? And I feel like an idiot because I thought back to the Revlon Wonder Woman palette and the LA Girl palette, because I just bought those and did a video on them about a week or so ago. And then I was like, no, wait, I've bought something since then, and I found something else. And then I was like, no, wait, I literally bought something last night. I was at Target last night picking up just a couple things for the house, like some AHA water, which is my favorite, the citrus green tea. This is the best seltzer water on the planet. Sponsor me, daddy. But last night I bought the number 7, this Lift and Illuminate powder, because I have heard that this is a dupe for Charlotte Tilbury, her Airbrush Flawless Finish powder. You can't see it, but there's a little embossing of number 7 in the tube, on the pan. But this is the Lift and Illuminate powder. I used it a tiny bit last night. I've had this for about 24 hours exactly at the time of filming. I didn't have foundation on yesterday, but I just kind of swept some on my face to see what it looked like. It looked promising yesterday whenever I tried it last night, just as kind of a one and done situation. But I've heard it's a Charlotte Tilbury dupe. I've never tried the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish powder because it's like $400 or something, and I do not have Charlotte Tilbury money. I will never buy anything from Charlotte Tilbury because all her stuff is so expensive. But I've heard this is a dupe, and truth be told, I'm not that much of like a powder person. I'm content to just put foundation on and leave it most days, even though I have like 5 or 6 powders. I don't know what's wrong with me. But I bought that last night at Target. It was on sale. It's normally $12.99. They didn't even have a sale sign on it, but it came out to like $10 and some change, which was a really pleasant surprise. But that's my newest makeup purchase. Number 3 is, what is the first makeup product you ever used? And honestly, it was the Revlon lipstick, because I had not been into makeup prior to doing that Lady Gaga Halloween costume. So this and that like glittery eyeshadow that I bought were the first things I ever used. Now, fast forwarding a little bit, there was a time whenever I was started to actually get into makeup, and I can't remember exactly what the first thing I bought was, but I know, and I'll talk about this in a few minutes again, I bought one of those big like 100 pan e.l.f. eyeshadow palettes that they put out for holiday season, which are pretty terrible, but I saw it, I was working at Target at the time, I saw it on an end cap, a holiday end cap. It was like $10 or something for all of those eyeshadows, and I'll put a picture in if I can find it. It's like the most boring eyeshadow palette. There's like, I think like 60 of them are just different shades of beige. They were like Morphe at the time, kind of, but there were some deeper, there were some blues and some turquoises and some deeper colors, I think, in the bottom row. So that was, I think, my first, like, I wanted to do makeup purchase, but if I'm being honest with myself, the Revlon lipstick was actually the first thing I ever used. Okay, question number 4 is, what is a makeup trend that you used to love, but now you hate? And to be honest, I had a hard time thinking of an answer for this, but I have reasoning behind this, but just stick with me for a second on this one. My thing that I used to love that I now hate is actually liquid liner with like a bold wing, and I used to love that look. I have strong memories of, you know, Lady Gaga rising to fame, and I feel like she was one of the first artists, like global artists, that I saw who was wearing like really thick black winged liner. And then I remember it started to, I'm not saying she started it, because I'm sure there were people like Amy Winehouse, of course, had the big black wing. But I remember, because I was so into Lady Gaga at the time, like her, Alejandro video. No, it wasn't Alejandro. It was, what video was it? It was her Judas video. In her Judas video, I remember her having all of this really intricate liner work all the way around her eyes. And I remember when I first started getting into makeup, and actually when I bought that e.l.f. palette, I think I bought like a $5 or $2 or $3 e.l.f. liquid liner at the time. And I remember trying to do a wing, but I didn't understand that my eyes were hooded at the time. So I can't really do like a liquid liner, like a sharp liquid wing. I do more like blended out shadow wings now, just because I understand my eye shape more. But I remember at the time thinking like, wow, like any woman that wears this like bold, sharp winged liner is like a bad bitch, and I want to do that, and I want to look like that. But I didn't understand my eye shape at the time. So I wouldn't say that I hate it now, but I just can't do it on myself. And number 5 is the inverse of that. So it's a makeup trend that you used to hate, but you now love. And I had to think about this one too, but I think it came down to lip gloss for me. I remember, as I've been getting into makeup over the past, 5 or 6 years, it kind of started with eyeshadow and, a failed attempt at liquid liner. And sort of over the years, I've added more steps to things that I will do to my face. Like I remember when I used to do makeup looks, I would just do eyeshadow and that was it. Eventually, I kind of got into foundation. I kind of got into bronzer to concealer. And I remember, not that long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, my lipstick collection was like really, really small. I had like 2 lipsticks or something because I thought, oh, I don't want to put in the effort. I don't want to do lipstick. So I kind of got on board with lipstick a little bit. And I remember thinking like lip gloss, no, like that's the final straw. I don't want to put lip gloss on because I think I have this kind of internalized homophobia, which is a completely separate video from this one, about the idea of makeup looking too feminine on me because I like sort of a masculine edge to my makeup. And I remember associating glossy lips with like kind of a feminine look that I wasn't really going for in my makeup aesthetics. Does that make sense? I just remember thinking like, oh, well, glossy lips, that's like too feminine and too soft of a look that I wanted. But then everything changed for me whenever I watched Nisi Pisa's lip gloss, the Gospel According to Nisi Pisa lip gloss video, which is probably my favorite YouTube video on the entire platform. It's like a 30 or 40 minute video of just her talking about all of her favorite lip glosses. She talks about plumping lip glosses, which are also my favorite, clear lip glosses, her pigmented lip glosses, her sparkly lip glosses, some that she's made herself by mixing glosses. And I remember I used to have a few lip glosses in my collection that I never, ever, ever used. And then I started slowly collecting more over time and buying more. And it really started with plumping lip glosses because I was just interested in like the science behind it and seeing if they would work and seeing how they felt. And so for me, it was like a texture experience rather than like the actual color. And then slowly but surely I started buying more glosses over time. And now I have a lot of lip glosses. I have plumping ones, I have clear ones, I have tingly ones, I have not tingly ones, I have really pigmented ones, and I used to not be into lip gloss at all, but now I really like them for a look. Question number 6 is, what is your favorite step in your makeup routine? And I don't wake up and do makeup every single day. I only do it for either a special occasion or if I just feel like doing it. But I definitely think I would have to say it would be eyeshadow because that's sort of the thing that started it all for me. I bought, like I said earlier, that e.l.f. palette that I bought was my first eyeshadow palette. That was my first real foray into wanting to do makeup looks because I think eyeshadow is just amazing and I love sort of the artistry of it and the technique of it. So eyeshadow is definitely my favorite thing to do, but then again, I only do it for very specific things. If it weren't eyeshadow, it would probably just be a foundation. Just throw a foundation on. I don't have to conceal, I don't have to powder, just one thing, boom, foundation out the door, and that's it. But that's for a more everyday thing. But eyeshadow is definitely my favorite thing. Like if I could throw all of my categories of makeup out and only keep one thing, it would probably be eyeshadow. I didn't say that with conviction, did I? It would either be that or foundation, but probably eyeshadow. We'll just go with that. All right, question number 7 is a makeup product that you can't live without. And like me being sort of the utilitarian person I am, I was like, oh, well, nothing. Like I could literally live without all of my makeup. Like it's a sad thought. People sometimes do those videos of like, if your apartment caught on fire, what like 10 things would you repurchase immediately? And truth be told, I don't need makeup. I would rather purchase like skincare for myself or maybe nail polish. But if I had to choose, even though I just talked about eyeshadow so much, I would probably choose foundation as the thing I can't live without. If I could needed just one emergency product, because foundation is much more utilitarian than eyeshadow, I would grab my Milk Makeup foundation stick and then boom, everything else could go. So that's probably the closest thing I can say to something that I can't live without. All right, question number 8 is what sparked your love for makeup? And for me, it's a very specific thing. I remember scrolling through my Instagram feed. I can't remember if the Explore page was still called the Explore page back in the day, but I remember back in like 2013, maybe 2012, scrolling through my Instagram Explore page, and I saw a picture of Sam Chapman, who is a British makeup artist. She and her sister Nick Chapman used to run, well, it's technically still up, but they don't post videos to it anymore. They used to run a channel called Pixie Woo on YouTube for a really long time, and truth be told, they were like some of the first makeup YouTubers on the platform, and I feel like they don't really get any credit for that, at least as far as I know. They've been uploading makeup videos for like gosh, probably like 11 or 12 years at this point, like way before nice cameras and good productions and all that stuff. And they were consistently posting a video a week. Nick would do a look one week, Sam would do a look the next week. And I remember, I'm pretty sure it was Sam's Urban Decay Electric video. She had pictures of it on her Instagram and they popped up in my feed. And I remember seeing that and just, I don't even know what happened in that moment. It was like some kind of awakening for me where I saw her look and it was just so beautiful, and I still wasn't interested in makeup at all. Like, it was just something I wasn't really that, keen to do. But I think I followed her on Instagram, and then after seeing some of her posts and seeing some of her kind of grungy and maybe avant-garde looks, I decided to start watching their YouTube channel. So Pixie Woo, aka Sam and Nick Chapman, are the first makeup channel I ever watched, and if they still uploaded today, I would watch them religiously. I think they're both great people. But I watched Sam's videos and Nick's videos for years before I got into actually doing makeup myself. I'm pretty sure I watched their videos for probably like 3 years before I even bought my first makeup product. So it was really interesting because they're makeup artists, so all of their videos were kind of master classes on different techniques, even if maybe they didn't think of it that way. So when I finally started getting into makeup, it was almost like I had been in kind of like a makeup school that they were teaching for so long. And so I was able to kind of take their techniques and expand them. And they also were doing techniques differently than a lot of other beauty YouTubers at the time. Like, I remember one big thing for them was they were big fans of using a cream eyeshadow and then putting a powder eyeshadow over it. And they wouldn't do, because like American beauty YouTubers would do like a crease color to soften the crease first, and then they would kind of do like an outer V color, and then they would do a lid color, and then an inner corner color. And I feel like when Sam did makeup, it was like a cream color all over the lid, and then she would do an eyeshadow over it to intensify it so it would stick to that cream color. And then she would use a bare brush to blend out the edges. So she kind of did the steps in reverse in a way. And I remember for some reason that being really appealing to me, because I think because she was an actual working makeup artist and she had worked at MAC for a long time, almost like I could trust what she was saying. And really there's no right or wrong way to do makeup, but it just, her techniques are still something that I keep with me till this day. So she really taught me a lot about makeup. So did her sister Nick. And I remember them being the first ones that really got me interested in makeup. And I sort of watched and studied what they were doing for years. And also they're just fun people, so they're entertaining to watch. And then I ended up buying the Urban Decay Electric palette, which I've talked about in a couple of videos. That was my first kind of like high-end palette. And I remember just seeing her look and thinking like, God, I really like to recreate that. And I have, not nearly as good as she has done, but that Sam alone kind of sparked my interest in makeup, and I really owe her and Nick both a lot of like praise and what have you, because they are the ones that got me into it, and I still like them. I still follow them on Twitter and Instagram, and they're great ladies. They're still talented makeup artists. I understand they haven't been uploading, which makes me sad, but also they're grown women. They have perhaps moved on with their life a little bit, and they're not really doing makeup that much more for show. I mean, I'm sure they're still doing it on themselves. But yeah, that day in Omaha, Nebraska, in my apartment, when I was scrolling through Instagram and Sam's Urban Decay Electric look came up on my feed, boom, that was it for me. It was all over with after that. Okay, number 9 is what is the worst makeup look you've ever done? And I'm going to go back and reference the 100 color e.l.f. palette that I bought, because I think I still have a picture of it on my phone, and if I can find it, I'll put it up here. Even though it's embarrassing, but hey, we all have to start somewhere. I distinctly remember doing this look where there was like a purple and a turquoise shadow in the palette, and I did like turquoise on one part of my eye, and I think I did purple on the other part, and then I tried to do a liquid liner and a wing, and it looks so bad. And it was like probably my first time ever really sitting down with eyeshadow and liquid liner. So like, obviously anybody's look is going to be pretty bad the first time they sit down. It took me years to like really understand my aesthetics and the way that I like to do makeup, and this was way before that. So I'll drop a picture in if I could find it. Y'all can roast me in the comments if you want, but it was truly a terrible look, and I'm just glad that I've come a lot farther since then and I understand techniques better. But I mean, we all have to start somewhere, right? All right, for number 10, it's what is your favorite makeup look you've ever done? We've already talked about the worst, so let's talk about the best. And I have like three answers for this, which I think is cheating a little bit. My initial thought was I did a look last year with the e.l.f. Hot Jalapeno Bite Size palette. It's a green look. I'll put a picture of it up here. I just love not only the look that I created, but that just the attitude of the way the makeup makes me feel when I was wearing it, and like the photos that I took. It's just, I love it. That's my immediate first response, but I have two runners up, and one of them is I recently found a post on Instagram that I was inspired by. If I can find it, I'll put a picture up here as well. But it was kind of like this peacock, like kind of turquoisey and deep and kind of messy eye look, and I thought it was so beautiful. And so I kind of adapted that for my eye shape, and it's this kind of like patchwork, dark blue and turquoise and purple eye look, and I just really, really like it, and I was really proud of it. It's very kind of avant-garde, and it took into account a lot of different textures and formulas of things because I used a cream shadow. I think I used 2 or 3 different eyeshadow palettes, probably used like 10 brushes on it, but I really like it. It really makes me happy, and I think it's just a good kind of creative piece that I've done, and I really like it a lot. And the third one, if I'd have to choose another runner-up, cut me some slack here, okay? I did a burgundy look with the LA Girl, I can't remember, Ilux Hypnotize palette or whatever it's called. I've talked about it in some videos before. It's a little 4-pan palette that I love because it has a beautiful burgundy in it. But I did this vampy look where I did burgundy, shadow wings pretty high. I did a burgundy lip, and it's really just, I love the mood of the look, because for makeup, kind of like with the green thing, the whole attitude, I feel like makeup is very transformative, which is funny because when you're wearing makeup, you can't see it on yourself, but it still feels like you're kind of transforming and you're having this kind of like metamorphosis moment. And when I put that look on and then I photographed it and I saw the pictures, I was like, yeah, this is really cool. I really like this. And that's still one of my favorite looks too. Number 11 is, what is your favorite drugstore makeup product? And surprisingly enough, I had kind of a hard time deciding what to name for this, even though like 90% of my collection is drugstore stuff. I don't have that much high-end makeup, but I was trying to think of like, what is something that I use all the time or that I would like repurchase or something like that. And I don't really repurchase makeup ever because I use it so sparingly that I never really go through it that much, which will come up again in the future. But if I had to give it to something, it would probably be the L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara. I've had 2 tubes of this. I have a waterproof version, which is this one. I have a non-waterproof version, and I have their primer that comes with it. And it's just like, if I had to pick one mascara, that would be it. I just bought the Maybelline Sky High, which I haven't used enough to form an opinion on. This is another thing about me with like non-eyeshadow and non-foundation products, is I feel like I don't use them enough to be like, yes, this is the best thing. But there's something about that L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara. It's cheap, it's easy to use, it just works. And if I had to choose a favorite drugstore product, that would probably be the one. All right, number 12 is kind of embarrassing. It's, what's your favorite splurge makeup product? And like I said, I don't really own that many high-end things. I think the most expensive thing I've ever bought for myself and paid full price for was the Urban Decay Wired palette, which I think was like $55, because most makeup I buy on sale, or it's drugstore, or it's on some kind of discount, or it's at TJ Maxx or Marshalls or something. So this answer is kind of weak, but if I had to give one, I would say it's my MAC Studio Face and Body Foundation. I just used this in my glass skin video, and this is only $33, so the fact that I'm like, ooh, I splurged on a $33 product probably says a lot more about me and my cheap finances than anything, but I don't buy that much high-end stuff, so the fact that it's a really good foundation, it's probably the most expensive foundation in my collection. I do have the Milk foundations, but I got them at TJ Maxx and Marshalls, so I got them for like, I don't know, $15. So $33 for foundation is pretty pricey for me, just because I'm so cheap. But it's a really good foundation. Like, if I ran out of it, I would probably go buy another bottle immediately. Kind of the same with the Milk Makeup Foundation Stick. Those are my top 2 foundations. But because I paid full price for this and I didn't for the Milk one, this is probably my favorite thing. And also, just the story behind this foundation, because this is another Sam and Nick recommended product from Pixie Woo. I remember I was living in, I think, Omaha, Nebraska at the time, and I had flown to New York for the first time in my life, and I remember going to a Mac store, and I think it was the first time I had ever been in a Mac Pro store, and because Sam and Nick worked at Mac, and they talked about Mac products in their Pixie Woo videos all the time, they had recommended this, and it was one of those things where I was like, they've recommended it so much, I really just want to try it, I want to get it, and I remember going to this Mac store in New York and having the makeup artist like apply it to me with the sponge, and we tried out 2 different shades, and then she let me apply it with the sponge, and I remember at the time thinking like, wow, I can't even tell that there's anything on my skin, and I like told her that. I was like, yeah, I don't see a difference with this being on my skin, but I think it was something about the Mac store and the lighting, you know, I think there were really bright lights at the vanities, so I couldn't really tell when I looked in the mirror, but whenever I continued to use this, it's just a great foundation, and I love it. I just love the story about going. I feel ridiculous because I didn't have to go to New York to buy it, but it just felt like a bougie thing to do, to go to like, oh, a Mac store when I'm in New York, and that's how I got this foundation, and I really like it. It's not much of a splurge. It's $33, but to me, that's a lot of money to spend on a single product, and I really like it. So this is my splurge product. Number 13 is, what is your most repurchased makeup product? And this one I kind of cheated on a little bit, but I wanted to include it just because I have repurchased it so many times. It's actually a nail polish top coat of all things. This is the Sally Hansen Big Matte Top Coat, and every single time I paint my nails, I use Sally Hansen's Big Matte Top Coat on top of it. And nails are something that I've been painting them for probably about 3 years now or so. And I think out of those 3 years, I've only maybe had like 2 weeks where I didn't have polish on my nails. And I mean, sometimes they're really chipped and gross like they are now, which I like them looking like this because I think it's kind of like a punk rock vibe. But I always put matte top coat on it because I like, again, with like the lip gloss thing, I like sort of the weird masculinity of having, kind of turning the idea of like nail polish on its head a little bit, and not only doing kind of a deep color, because this is like an oil slick color, this is for the Twill of It by Essie, but then putting a matte top coat on it as well so that you reduce the shine, and it has this really nice finish on it. And I think I've bought like 5 or 6 bottles of this. If they discontinue this, I don't know what I'm going to do, because this is my favorite matte top coat. I've used the OPI matte top coat also, which is a more expensive, obviously, because it's OPI, but it also just doesn't work as well. I find that when I use the OPI one, it will lift the color of the polish as it's going on, even though the polish has been dry underneath for a long time. So it works, it does the job, but the Sally Hansen Big Matte Top Coat is way better, it's cheaper, it's easier to get a hold of, and I use it every time I paint my nails, so it is definitely the most repurchased product in my makeup collection. I think this is like my 5th or 6th bottle, and I love it, and I will never go without this, unless they discontinue it. Please don't discontinue this, Sally. Number 14 is, what is your earliest makeup memory? And I feel like there's a common theme in these videos where people talk about seeing their moms or their grandmothers do their makeup, and I don't really stray far from that. The only thing that's different about my like earliest makeup memory is that instead of it being my mom putting her makeup on, it's actually her taking it off. Because I remember she always used to wear a lot of makeup, eyeshadow, brows, foundation, the whole shebang whenever I was much younger. And I have distinct memories of, we were a big TV family when I was growing up, or, we would sit on the couch, we would eat dinner at the table, and then we would watch, reality shows or whatever in the living room. And I just have very strong memories of her. She used to use baby oil to take her makeup off. So she would have those big bottles of baby oil. She would like saturate like some toilet paper or some cotton pads in it. And I just have memories of her sitting on the couch and we're watching, I don't know, the soap operas that she recorded earlier in the day that she wanted to catch up on. And she would just have the toilet paper with the baby oil on it, and she would just rub it on her eyes for what seemed like forever. It probably seemed longer than it was in the moment, but I just remember these long trails of toilet paper with like eye makeup stains on it, because she would just rub it on her eyes to get all of her makeup off, and then she would go wash her face. But the smell of baby oil, the bottle, the thought of her sitting there on the couch just doing circles on her eyes with the toilet paper to get her makeup off, that is oddly the thing that I remember the most about my earliest makeup memories, is my mom taking her makeup off, not putting it on. Number 15 is, where is your favorite place to shop for makeup? And initially I was like, oh yeah, Ulta, of course, because I like Ulta's mix of high-end and drugstore products, because like I said, I don't buy high-end stuff that much. So Sephora, I do go there every once in a while, but it's a little, like, most stuff in Sephora is out of my price range, to be honest, for stuff that I want to buy. I feel like the only time I go to Sephora is when there's, like, something I absolutely want that I know is at Sephora. Like, I bought the Urban Decay Wired palette at Sephora. I bought the Milk Makeup, the trio of lip balms that they had there for holiday last year. I bought those at Sephora, but when I want to just browse, I usually go to Ulta. But the more I was thinking about it, the more I realized I actually really like makeup and skincare shopping at Marshalls and TJ Maxx. I just think there's some kind of element of, like, you never know what you're going to get when you go into those stores, and I don't ever go, and because you can't with Marshalls and TJ Maxx, you can't be like, yeah, here's the one thing I'm gonna go and get, even unless you saw it there a couple of days ago. Because the interesting thing about those stores is that they're always rotating products in and out. They're always getting new shipments of stuff. I'm not exactly sure how Marshalls and TJ Maxx works. I think it's like defective stuff or discontinued stuff or clearance stuff that ends up going to them. Still not 100% sure on that, but I know, like, they started getting Milk Makeup stuff. Like, one of my girlfriends was like, oh, I saw some Milk stuff at, Marshalls the other day. And so I, like, zoomed down to Marshalls and TJ Maxx to try to find some stuff. And I ended up buying a shitload of Milk Makeup stuff over the course of the next few months. Like, I got a stick foundation. I got 2 of the Liquid Blur foundations. I got 2 brow gels. I got, I think, 1 or 2 lip balms. I got a mascara primer, the waterproof mascara, like a lip gloss. I ended up getting the loose powder. Like, I got so much Milk Makeup stuff, and it was all, like, a fraction of the price that it would have been if I had gone to Sephora. If I'd gone to Sephora, that stuff would have cost me hundreds of dollars. But at TJ Maxx or Marshalls, wherever I bought it, it ended up, I mean, I'm sure I ended up paying close to, I don't know, maybe like $80 for all of it, something like that. But still, like, that foundation alone is like $39. So the fact that I was able to get all that stuff cheaper really makes me happy. And I'm also the kind of shopper where I kind of, like, it's rare that I go to a store and I'm like, this is what I want, in and out, boom, and that's it. I'm more of like a, I like to look around, I like to see what clearance is there, I like to see what discontinued stuff is there, and Marshalls and TJ Maxx are essentially just stores that are, it's like a giant clearance warehouse, basically, and, like, you never know what you're gonna find. Sometimes you won't find anything. Sometimes you find something you think you want, and you open the pan and it's broken because 400 people have put their hands in it, and it's really gross. But there's just this weird, like, thrill of, going in one and being like, ooh, what am I going to find today? Am I going to find a $2 mascara that I don't need that I'm going to buy anyway? Or do I want to buy something that's maybe more experimental because I know it'll be cheap? Like, I bought a Becca eyeshadow palette that I, like, never would have bought if it had been full price or if it had been at Sephora or something. But because it was like $15 or 10 or however much it was, and I had seen it over and over again, like, it was clear that it was getting discontinued out of stores and they were sending them to Marshalls and TJ Maxx, and I bought it and I really like some of the looks I've done with it. So it's just an interesting way to, like, try to find either staple products that you like if they're there, or find cheaper stuff. They also have a lot of skincare stuff. I usually buy, like, face masks and stuff there, which, face masks, I'm kind of like, use them more for the experience than for, like, the actual factor of if they work. It's more of like a spa thing for me. But you can always find something, and it is always cheap usually. Like, it's rare that I find anything at TJ Maxx that I want to buy that's more than, like, I don't know, $20. So there's just something really appealing to me about, like, the hunt of going to a Marshalls or TJ Maxx and seeing what they have, and maybe finding something that you didn't know existed, or maybe something that you've been thinking about and now it's half off or something like that. So yeah, if I know what I want, I'll go to Ulta or Sephora, but usually I just like going to TJ Maxx and Marshalls and just exploring and seeing what's out there. I find that very satisfying to find something cool and paying like $5 for it. Yeah, that's right up my alley. Number 16 is, what is the most underrated makeup product you own? I had to think about this one a lot, but I'm going to do some repeat mentions in this video if you haven't, been able to tell already. But honestly, I would have to say MAC Face and Body is my most underrated product. And I think MAC, so let me get on my soapbox about MAC for a second here. So I feel like when MAC launches new collections, which they are a very collection oriented brand, they often get roasted because like it'll be like the Sims palette where it was like this boring ass brown neutral eyeshadow palette that they just put a cardboard cover of The Sims over and call it a collection. Sometimes their collections are better than others, but I feel like MAC, their collections get roasted, but they have such a huge catalog of mainstay products in their collection that people, because with YouTube, it's always like, what's new? What just came out? What's going on? What's the newest thing? I want to know about it. But MAC, like, they have such a huge library of products that are all great, which is why they're still in their collections. Because if they're not great or people aren't buying them, they would probably discontinue them and get rid of them. But I feel like people often forget that MAC has, I mean, it's a makeup artist focused brand. So they're like a pillar of the community where they have all this stuff that's been out for decades, that's still tried and true, that still works, but because it's not shiny and new, people don't pay attention to it. So something like MAC Face and Body is nowhere near a new product, but I do think it's underrated. And I feel like YouTube is kind of creating this atmosphere of like, we need to know what's new right now and know if it's good. And then MAC is over there and they're just like, hey, we've had good stuff here this whole time. It might not be new, but maybe you should give some of this stuff a try. And that's how I feel about MAC Face and Body. I also want to mention that MAC was doing huge shade ranges of foundations way before other brands. Like, I know Fenty really changed the game when it was like, all right, here's 40 shades. We have something for everybody. And I think Fenty is a great brand. Actually, I don't think I've tried anything from Fenty, but whatever. I feel like Fenty did really good stuff with sort of bringing a voice and bringing sort of an effort to create change in the industry about making more shades for, you know, foundations and concealers and stuff like that. But at the same time, I look at other brands like, you know, MAC or maybe like Bobbi Brown that have had big shade ranges for a long time. And because they're not, you know, making like a song and dance about it, like whenever Fenty came out with her foundation, everybody was like, oh my God, this has never been done before. And I'm like, but MAC has been doing like, you know, 30, 40 plus shade foundations for years now because they're a makeup artist brand, so they have to. So it's just interesting the way that people just don't really pay that much attention to MAC unless they're launching some kind of new collection, which usually gets roasted. But they have such a library of mainstay products that I don't know if they need to just re-promote them or if they even care because maybe they're making so much money that it doesn't make a difference to them. But that's my little soapbox about MAC for a second. I feel like, I don't know, I've only used like 5 MAC products in my life, so I don't have like a big affinity for them. But I just think that people overlook them often, and MAC Face and Body is a perfect example. I love that foundation. It's super underrated. Don't hear anybody talk about it, probably because it's been out for like 10 plus years. But yeah, it's really good, and I really like it, and I don't know, maybe more people should try it. All right, the next question is, what is your most overrated product? Obviously, because we just talked about the underrated product. And I'm going to talk about, I mentioned this in my eyeshadow palette video, the Pat McGrath La Vie en Rose Mothership, whatever it's called. This is a 6-pan palette, and I generally think I've never tried anything from Pat McGrath, her like giant sort of flagship palettes, because I don't have Pat McGrath money, like just like Charlotte Tilbury. I can't afford that stuff. So the reason why I think this is overrated, because about 3 of the eyeshadows in here are good, and 3 of them are so-so. But this palette was $65 for 6 shades. Yeah, the pans are big, but I don't care. I can buy a 9-pan ColourPop palette for like $12. This thing was $65, and it only has 6 shades, and only 3 of them are good. I did buy it on sale for like $30. I think it was $33 when I bought it on like a, I don't know, Labor Day sale or something, which is the only reason I bought this, because I would not have picked it up if it had been $65, not in a million years. But it has a purple and a pink and a color story that I like. But still, I even think for $33 this is overpriced, and they don't make this anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, this is, I think, the most overrated thing in my collection. If I had Pat McGrath money and I could buy one of her giant palettes and try it, even though I do think they're all boring, they're not to my taste with makeup for the most part. But maybe those shadows really are the most amazing shadows ever made, ever in the history of the world, which every YouTuber seems to say. But I'm not going to spend that much on an eyeshadow palette, not in a million years. I mean, maybe, I don't know, if I become huge on the platform and I get lots of money or whatever, then I can buy one. But no time in the foreseeable future am I going to be picking up a Pat McGrath palette that's worth like $100+. So yeah, this little 6-pan palette being $65 definitely qualifies it as the most overrated thing in my collection. All right, number 18 is what is a discontinued product that you wish would come back? And the only answer I could ever give for this is Urban Decay Electric. This was my first high-end eyeshadow palette that I bought. It's probably my favorite eyeshadow palette that I still own to this day. I love this. I know that Urban Decay, they tried to throw us a bone last year and do the Wired palette, which was essentially kind of like a tribute to this palette, like a follow-up to it. There were some crossover shades and there were some new shades. And I don't think the Wired palette is bad, but I think this one is way better. And if they could just, I mean, I know it might be impossible for them to make this again due to, pigment issues and whatever. But this, if I had to choose one, yeah, it'd be Urban Decay Electric. Number 19 is where do you go for makeup inspiration? And to be honest, I kind of use the products themselves as inspiration. I know that sounds probably kind of cheesy and like a non-answer, but the predominant thing I buy on a day-to-day basis, well, not day-to-day basis, on a month-to-month basis is like eyeshadow palettes. That's the thing that I'm like always kind of looking for, always seeing if there's something new or something interesting out there. And usually I let the color story of the palette itself inspire me, because I will look at a palette and I will immediately think, okay, I could do a look with those 3 colors, with these 3, I could do these 3 or 4 different looks, or I could work that in, or I could do a one shadow look with this, or, whatever. And so I let the palettes themselves inspire me, and that's kind of the way that I approach makeup. Like, because all of my looks are kind of colorful and perhaps avant-garde, I feel like giving myself the label of avant-garde is a really, air jerk-off thing to do. But I don't really buy neutral palettes. I don't really think about palettes in an everyday way. Like, oh, can I wear this daily? Can I wear this to work? I do them for editorial looks that I photograph. So I let the products themselves inspire me. If I see something and I'm not inspired by it, then I usually don't buy it. But if I see something and I think, yeah, I could really do something with this, then I buy it. So the products themselves kind of inspire me, which I think is kind of the point of the products. I would want a palette to inspire me rather than not inspire me. I would hope that the makers of the palette would want the palette to inspire me, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, the products themselves kind of give me inspiration. All right, number 20 is what do you hope to see less of in the future of makeup? And I actually wrote down some things here, so excuse me while I look at my phone. I have a few answers for this. One thing is I would like to see people stop supporting problematic brands. I know that's a lot easier said than done, but I don't know. There's many minds about this, but I think when a brand owner is maybe racist, then maybe you should stop supporting them. I think there's the idea of separating the person from the products or the person from the brand. And I know that in actuality, every makeup brand owner is probably problematic in some way, shape, or form. But whenever you have a brand owner or someone on the board of directors or whatever, or the social media people that are associated with the brand, and they keep just putting their foot in their mouth over and over again, and if they have to keep making apology videos over and over again on YouTube to apologize for insensitive things they've done, just stop supporting them. I'm a big fan of just voting with your wallet, voting with your money. And I wish that there wasn't this idea that people get too big to fail, because I kind of think that the makeup space could be better off without some brand owners who are just problematic and who have to keep apologizing for stuff. So I would like to see less of that in the future. Another thing, and this is pipe dreams, this will never happen. Something else I would really like to see though is less photoshopping in ad campaigns. There is nothing more annoying to me than, well, that's a really strong statement. There's a lot of things that are more annoying to me than photoshopping in ad campaigns, but when it comes to the beauty space, I get really turned off by seeing, say, a foundation launch or something, and you can tell that in the photos, the models are just photoshopped to hell and back. And the real problem here is that this is such a pervasive problem across the entire industry, and it makes it look, because now the bar has been set to where it's okay, the models have to look this way, their face has to look airbrushed, they have to look like they don't have pores, and then you buy that product thinking it's going to make your face look like that, and it won't make your face look like that. I mean, if you put that on, take a photo with a $2,000 camera, and then pay a retoucher to spend hours retouching your face for a photo, then yeah, then it's going to look like that. But I hate, and I see this all the time on Instagram, where there are even accounts now, and this bothers me so much, where there are retouching artists' accounts. And I think retouching is a really skilled art. Like, I am a photographer myself. I get it. I don't heavily retouch my own photos. I will adjust, color balance, lighting, some vibrancy, stuff like that, highlights, shadows, whenever I take makeup photos. But I never, ever, ever do like a skin smoothing thing all over my face. If I have maybe like a pimple, I might clone stamp it out, but I never smooth my entire skin. I never take all my individual pores out. And there are these accounts on Instagram that show before and afters of like retouching, like hire me to retouch your photos. And of course the finished look is beautiful. You have these models who don't have a pore on their face and their eyeshadow is perfectly blended. If there's a stray hair in their face, they get rid of that. But I think like for a beauty campaign, I don't like seeing that much stuff because it's false advertisement. You're promising something that is not true. And I wish that more ad campaigns would use people of different backgrounds and people of different colors, different ethnicities, different genders, non-binary folks, trans folks. Like, that's something that I would like to see, which I guess we're kind of getting into question number 21 now, something I want to see more of in the future, is more inclusivity in those regards, but also like age inclusivity, because a lot of campaigns out there, it is 18-year-old white girl with perfect skin, and of course the foundation's going to look good over here. You could put mud on her face and it would still look beautiful. But I would like to see, okay, what does a man in his 50s look like? What does a black woman in her 80s look like? Just something other than 4 18-year-old white girls and a 19-year-old black girl. Like, in the ad campaigns, I want to see more than that. And there are brands that are getting better at this. Like, I recently saw, or it was a few years ago, I was floored when I was looking at like L'Oreal makeup in a Target, and they have like pictures of all the different models with the foundation shades, and there was like a black guy in it, and I was like, whoa, like it shouldn't floor me, but seeing like a black man in a store that's so mainstream like Target having an ad situation like on the graphic for the foundation was really cool. And of course he was the only one. I would maybe like to see a couple more, but I would like to see less photoshopping in ad campaigns, because I don't know if it's because I'm a photographer that I can tell when something's photoshopped, but like every single beauty picture you see on an Instagram account that's from like a even semi-professional Instagram account, I guarantee you that picture that you're seeing has been wildly airbrushed in Photoshop versus what you saw before. Like, I saw pictures the other day where they had like changed the girl's eyeshadow color, and I'm like, I know there's like an aesthetic for it, and I respect that, and those accounts aren't trying to sell something, which is nice. It's just these like retouching accounts or whatever on Instagram. But when it comes to selling things, I think it's incredibly problematic that there's so much retouching in photos where because skin has texture. Like, skin does not look like a piece of paper where it's just flat and there's no pores. But if people see a picture of a foundation in an ad campaign that hasn't been photoshopped, they're going to think it looks like shit, and they're not going to want to buy that. But if it's photoshopped, then they'll think, okay, that'll do that for my skin. We're getting into a whole other thing here about advertising and photoshopping that it's, oh my god, it's such a can of worms, I don't even want to go there. But yeah, less photoshopping. It's never ever going to happen, but I would love to see less photoshopping in ad campaigns for beauty brands, for skincare brands going forward. I know it's never going to happen, but that's like one of my ultimate wishes. The last thing I want to see less of in the future, I'm sorry, I have so many more answers than just one on these, is I wish the whole clean beauty movement would go away. Because if you haven't seen it, I'll link it below. Lab Muffin Beauty Science, who is a woman named Michelle from Australia, she has her PhD in chemistry. She does really great videos about the science behind makeup and skincare, and because she has her PhD, she actually knows what she's talking about. She looks at like peer-reviewed papers, she looks for scientific evidence, she will contact brands and ask them for their evidence and stuff like that when she does videos. And also people like Caroline Hirons and Nadine Baggett, they talk about the whole clean beauty thing. I hate that clean beauty is even a thing, and what I hate more is whenever I see YouTubers who I otherwise respect falling for this idea of clean beauty, because it's a myth. There is no such thing as dirty beauty, because clean beauty, as Nadine Baggett says, sort of implies that every other beauty brand is dirty. And no brand that's sold in any store anywhere, unless it's like a mom and pop one-off store in some town, I don't know, they have to go through FDA checks. They have to do so much testing for the products to be able to be sold and regulated and be safe that nothing is toxic out there. There's the whole like non-toxic clean beauty. Literally no product you pick up on a store shelf is going to be toxic for you. And if you have a reaction to it, it's probably not the product's fault. You might be allergic to something, it might not work well with your skin, but that doesn't mean it's a bad product. And this whole Clean at Sephora, especially, they're pushing this whole thing where they have all these clean brands, which doesn't even make sense because, like, then what are the other brands? Are they dirty? Like, it just makes no sense. But Lab Moving Beauty Science has a whole video about clean beauty and how basically it's an entire myth and how there's no evidence to back it up and it's just a giant marketing claim. And I hate it. I wish it would go away. I hate seeing YouTubers that I like and respect fall into the clean beauty thing because I don't know if they just don't know better, or I wouldn't expect them to research it in their spare time because, you know, we all have lives, we're trying to live here, but clean beauty, oh my God, it annoys me so much. Okay, and I already kind of answered this, but the last question is what would we want to see more of in the beauty space? And I was talking about inclusivity earlier. I know a lot of people are talking about this in their videos, but I would like to see more genders in makeup ad campaigns, more ages in makeup ad campaigns, more people with imperfect skin in makeup ad campaigns. And I don't want just, like I said earlier, like the 5 white girls and the 1 black girl. I would like to see a lot of people represented. You know, when we think of diversity, I feel like we always just think of like, oh, well, you have black and white, but it's like, no, can we get different Asian ethnicities in here? Can we get Indian ethnicities in here? Can we get older people in here, people that don't have perfect skin? Because it's so easy to fall into the trap of like looking for people who already have perfect skin that their products work for, because it makes those products easier to sell. Because if their skin already looks good, I want to see how the foundation is going to look on multiple skin tones, if it's going to be representative for an entire spectrum of skin tones. And I also just want to see more people in the ads. I don't want to just see white girls in the ads like that. I know makeup is predominantly purchased by women, but if I'm not mistaken, like there's a stat out there, oh my God, I hope I don't get this wrong, where like black women are spending more money on makeup than white women. So like, I don't know, fucking put them in your ads. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But I would love to see more diversity, more inclusion, less photoshopping, more men in campaigns. I know like Milk does a lot of men in their campaigns, which is great. Like I said earlier, L'Oreal has men in their campaigns. I think Glossier has men in their campaigns. And I feel like it's so like, oh, so token of me to be like, oh, of course you should include more men. So men is kind of like at the bottom of my list of things to include, but it would be nice because makeup is becoming so universal, especially with the rise of YouTube, that like when I go into Target or Sephora or Ulta lately, I'm sometimes not the only dude looking at makeup there, and it's really refreshing, and it's really nice to see that. I mean, often I'm the only one, but it's just nice to see other men, and there's prominent men on YouTube that are doing makeup, and it would just be nice to see a bigger gender spectrum represented, as well as ethnicities, different body sizes, different body types, because it's always thin white girls, and I mean, I love a thin white girl as much as the next guy? No, I don't think I do. I don't know. But I would just like to see more people that are not 17 and 100 pounds with perfect skin in ad campaigns. And I think the last thing I want to see more of is, this is like such a me thing to say, but I would just like to see more cheap brands. Like, I feel like every time when I follow an Instagram account that talks about new makeup brands or whatever, it's always like, oh, this new brand launching at Sephora. And it's always like foundations that are like $40. And I'm like, oh my God, can we get like some cheap brands for once? Like, I know Sephora is not about cheap makeup, but I would like to see more brands at Ulta, more brands at Target, more brands at Walmart. Like, I know a lot of brands in those big stores are kind of, you know, it's like L'Oreal, CoverGirl, they've been around for, I don't know, hundreds of years. But it would be nice to just see cheaper brands every once in a while that would start to pop up. Or maybe brands like Beauty Bakery is kind of modifying itself in Target right now. They're doing, I think, smaller versions of existing products to make them cheaper. And I think that's like a wonderful idea. I would love to see, I don't know, Urban Decay do like eyeshadows that are half as big and half the price, or 24/7 pencils that are shorter and half the price. Like, because I would buy more high-end makeup if it was smaller and cheaper. And I know that gets into a whole discussion about economics and about the value of the brand and everything, but if your product is expensive, I'm not going to buy it. Like, that's pretty much it. But if, you have a modified version of it, or if it's on sale or something, but I just would like to see more cheap brands. I feel like in the drugstore or at Ulta, we've had the same, I don't know, 10 brands for a long time, and every once in a while, maybe one will start to gain traction. I think about like Essence or LA Girl, where they've been around for a while, but maybe they'll launch something new, so people will take a better look at them. But I just want to see more cheap makeup, just because I'm cheap. I don't like to spend a lot of money, but I like makeup, and I want more cheap brands. Is that too much to ask? It probably is, but that's what I'm asking. Okay, those are all of the 21 questions. I want to say thank you to Allie Glines for starting this tag. I will leave her video down below. I just watched it earlier today to refresh myself in the video. I feel like I have ranted for an hour at my camera at this point. Hello, yes, editing me here. You literally ranted for an hour. This video had literally no business being this long. Why did you talk for an hour for 21 questions? Why did you do this to yourself? So I should probably stop, and I also, God, I already know this video is going to be a bitch to edit because it's just going to be me watching me talk to myself. Oh God, can you think of a worse fate? But I'm going to sign off. Thank you for watching. If you want to do this tag, if you have a channel, or if you want to, I don't know, do a blog post with your answers, I don't know. Please feel free, comments below if you have agreements, disagreements, whatever you may say. I welcome the feedback. Hopefully the mic audio is good with my new microphone and my camera. But that's it. Thank you, Allie Glines, for the video. 21 questions makeup tag. I was happy to do it. Good way to test my mic by just talking to the camera. And I don't know when I'll be back with a new video, but probably soon. Now that I have the mic, I want to film more. But that's it. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good day, good evening, good morning, whenever you're watching this video. And until next time, I will see you later. Bye, guys.